What's going on, guys? Travis with RAC Garage here. Doing a little different video today. I want to try to mix in a couple how-tos, tips, tricks, kind of something to broaden my channel out and get some people that aren't so focused on fabrication and old 30s hot rods. Maybe try to get some people just want to make things. Today I want to get into 5 basic things you need to start TIG welding. Alright, so let's just go to number 1, the welder. Alright, TIG welder. To start TIG welding, you can't TIG weld without a TIG welder. So, I wouldn't recommend starting off with a blue machine or a red machine. You know what I'm talking about. They're just really way too expensive for what you get. Yes, they'll last longer, it's a better product overall. If you don't have the scratch to shell out for thousands of dollars for a welder, El Cheapo eBay works every time. I've been using this for years, and even before that, I think I had an Eastwood, and they're like, this was like 800 bucks. And I got pulse, I got all the different settings that you would need when you start progressing further on, and it's in this $800 machine. So I can't recommend this machine enough. And this is an AHP Alpha TIG 200. I don't know if it's called the same thing now. It's been a few years, they kind of changed the names. What I would do if I was buying a new TIG welder, either I would get this machine or I would get another one that's in the same kind of price range that welds AC, DC. It has pulse capabilities, high frequency start is a must, but also you can switch to scratch start. I would just look for a machine that has as many options that you can afford, because you're going to grow with welding and want to do more, and you don't want to outgrow your machine quickly. This does everything I need. I really don't need to go to a bigger welder, and it's only cost me 800 bucks. But there are TIG welders out there that only do DC, that don't have high frequency start. It's only scratch start, which means you have to touch the tungsten to your material to start the arc. For a little bit more, you can get high frequency start. You have the capabilities to weld aluminum, which is AC, pulse, which helps a lot with different things if you don't want to overheat things. It can get a lot. There's a lot of things involved with TIG welding, so I'll kind of keep this simple. Just get the most options you can out of a TIG welder so you don't outgrow. Alright, so number 2 is going to be safety equipment. The main things you need, other than a long sleeve shirt and pants. I wear shorts all the time. You'll see me welding in shorts, and I regret it 100% of the time. I always have a sunburn or an arc burn, whatever you want to call it, on my knees and my thighs. Every time. And I always say, why did I wear shorts? But I continue to wear shorts. I digress. Gloves and a helmet. Your TIG welder would come with mostly everything you need to weld besides safety equipment. It will come with this crappy shield that you'll have to hold, and you can't TIG weld with one hand. You need both your hands, so throw that thing in the trash and get yourself a nice helmet. These are kind of pricey. To get a good one, you don't want a crappy helmet, because most of these nowadays are auto darkening, and if you get a cheap one, it's not going to sense the arc when you strike it, and I've had my eyes burned a few times, and it's not worth it. Just spend a little extra money on a good helmet. Gloves. These are consumables. You go through gloves pretty fast, especially when you touch the material right after you weld it, and the finger shrinks right up. Yeah, I've had that happen too many times. So gloves, you can go cheap on those if you want. That's about it for safety equipment. Just gloves and the helmet, and cover your skin, because if you weld a lot, you will get a sunburn, and it's not fun. Another important thing for welding is your table. You don't want to be welding on a wooden table. I see so many of these YouTube channels, not actual welding YouTube channels, but like maker YouTube channels. When they have to weld something, they're like they're on the ground welding something hunched over, or they're welding on their wooden bench and they have to blow the fire out because it catches fire. There's so many easy options for this that you don't need to be welding on a wooden bench or on the ground. You can spend some money like I did on a nice big steel table, or there's plenty other options. A table like this, I actually stole this from my dad. He still wants it back, but I'm not giving it back to him because I love it. So, folds out into a tiny little bench, locks in place. If you watch the channel, you probably see these all the time. You'll see me use this all the time, but I don't weld directly on this. This would burn and melt because it's just plastic. But I have a scrap chunk of aluminum plate that I got from work, and you could probably ask around, go to a scrap yard, you'll find something like this, and it probably won't be that much money. Here it is. I have two of these. This is the bigger of the two plates, but this has actually been my favorite welding table option as of lately because I can just move it around pretty much anywhere I want, and I have a tiny little table I can weld stuff on. Because my table, I love that table, but it always gets cluttered with things, and the area that I have to weld always seems to shrink. And I gotta push stuff out of the way. With this, you can hang off the side and not touch anything, and it's small enough that I really don't want to throw stuff on it. So I've been liking this. And I can just lean this up against a wall, fold the table up, hide it behind something, and it's out of the way. All right, another option. This right here is 1/8" plate that's been bent. Don't know why it's bent like this. I found it in the scrap, but you could use something like this. Maybe make it a little bigger. Put it on your bench. Nice steel surface if you only have a wooden bench. It protects the wood, and so you don't start a fire. So now that you have your welder, your safety equipment, and your table, it's time to start welding. Number 4 is your filler. Woohoo! Filler all depends on what you're welding. Kind of obvious, but it might not be. If you're welding steel, ER70 S2 is what I use. I think there's a ER70 S6 too, and might be a couple others. I think I've used them both, and really it's no difference. But ER70 S2 for steel, won't have an issue. Aluminum. There's a bunch of different aluminums. So there's probably a chart somewhere to tell you what it is, but do some research, know what you're welding, and get the correct filler for what you're welding. So you got aluminum, stainless, same thing. Stainless is very particular, so you need to kind of get the right filler for the right kind of stainless. And you get things kind of like silicon bronze, which, again, I'm getting into more detail than I should, but this is for more TIG brazing, which is pretty much brazing but with a TIG torch. You don't really melt the base metal. You just kind of get it warm and just puddle the top surface of it, and you fill it in, and it's just like brazing. So that's fillers. Kind of obvious, but it's kind of a research for what you're doing kind of thing. But if you're just welding steel, ER70 S2, you'll be all set. And to start, I'd get some little, they call them coupons. It's a flat bar of steel cut into a bunch of little pieces, and you can weld them together. T-joints, you could butt weld them together. You could do a fillet weld with them. Just to kind of practice to get going. I get the material that you're going to be TIG welding most often. If you do steel, just get some hot rolled steel, some cold rolled, actually easier. You don't have to get the scale off of it. Some stainless, maybe get some aluminum. Whatever you know you're going to be welding, I would get that material to practice on. Like, I do mostly steel here, so If I was starting over again, I'd just get a steel flat bar, cut it in a bunch of sections, start welding it together. Also, thickness of the metal is very important when practicing. Like when you're getting your material to start practicing, if you're going to be welding sheet metal, I wouldn't practice with 1/4 inch plate. It might sound obvious, but it's very different. It's a lot easier to weld thicker metals because it's not going to blow away on you. It's not going to just melt away. So I get the correct thickness of what you're going to be welding. If you're just learning to TIG weld because you want to learn how to TIG weld, get a bunch of different thicknesses and get a bunch of different metals and just mess around and have fun, because honestly it is a lot of fun. All right, last but not least, number 5. You know, it's pretty important. They make jokes about this tool all the time, but if you're starting to weld, this right here is going to be your best friend, the angle grinder. So he can do everything. This was my favorite tool for a while, even before I started welding. This thing, if you don't have an angle grinder, get one. And do not get a Harbor Freight angle grinder because you're going to waste your money. Get a decent angle grinder. Just get a decent one, please. Please. And I have the button on the back here that locks. You can shut it off. I hate this one. Honestly, I don't like it at all. I bought it because that's all they had at the time. My preferred one, and they're more expensive, is the flap down here. There's a button down here to turn it on, and when you let go, it shuts off. This, if you lock it in position, which I always find myself locking this because it's just easier. It's annoying to push forward the whole time. So when you lock it and you drop it, sometimes it doesn't shut off. Like if something happens and it gets caught on something and it's locked, it's still going to keep going. So at least if you have the paddle here and you let go of the thing, it's going to shut off. So if you're going to get one with the flap on the bottom. It's just a safer and better option. And go with a good brand. But this baby can do everything. Put a cutting wheel on it. It'll cut your coupons so you can start welding. You put a grinding wheel on here. You can clean off the metal. Say if you got hot rolled steel, you can grind the mill scale off. You can grind your welds smooth if that's your thing, if that's what you want to do, or if they look ugly. And yet, I throw a cutting wheel on here again, and you can kind of grind out real fine stuff. If like you have some imperfections in your weld, like some porosity, you can kind of grind it out nice and gingerly with the cutting wheel, or just cut it out and start over. Yeah, this is your do-all. If you're in any kind of metal work, you're going to use this every day. Right, that wraps up this quick little 5 things to get if you're starting to TIG weld. If you want to learn how to TIG weld. If you want to see more videos like this, I can go more in depth in certain things. I think I want to do some more videos on how to use the different tools I have. I know for a lot of you guys who subscribe to the channel, you probably already know how to use some of these, but who knows, you might learn something. I might learn something from the comments after this, that I did this wrong. No. I want to start doing some tool how-tos, and like on the planishing hammer, and maybe go through all the tools I use, different ones that normal garages won't have. So if you get any ideas, drop them in the comments below. You guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, turn on the bell. Everything everyone tells you to do all the time. I hope you do it. Hope you see you next time. I'm out of here.